Will Stephanie Lazarus be walking free amongst us all soon? Swiping left and right on Tinder like the rest of us? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's back there. Roscoe's holding it down. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking, this is a very quick video, a very quick update, but I saw this and was like, oh my god. Okay, we're talking about Stephanie Lazarus. Now in a moment we will do that little 60-second overview of the case so that we all know what we're talking about before we get into the update. So that being said, if you want to, follow me outside the old YouTubes, you can go to the old Instas, onto the old Grams. It's on the screen right here. Go give it a follow. Now what we're going to do in this video specifically, the update will be talking about her recent parole, and not parole, she's not paroled, but the process that's going through. She's made it past like phase 1 or whatever. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the little 60-second overview type thing so that we all know, well, the what's what of the situation. Stephanie Lazarus was a former LAPD police officer. She made her way through the ranks there. She was a police officer for a very, very long time. She was a very alpha type personality, very competitive. Stephanie had a relationship with a man named John Rutan. Now this relationship would not last, as you can guess, but the relationship was like very blurry after that. This case actually reminds me of a recent case, the Caitlin Armstrong case. She was just recently sentenced to I think like 90 years or something like that, and that was for taking the life of another woman who was unknowingly in a love triangle with Caitlin. The same type of thing was going on here with Stephanie, John, and John's girlfriend, well, wife, Sherry. So in 1986, someone killed John's wife, Sherry Rasmussen. She was a nurse. Literally, they were like 3 months into their marriage. This is a very new thing. There was an investigation, but it went cold. And when I say it went cold for like 23 years. Now, new evidence would cause the case to be reopened. Remember, this went on for a very long time, this cold case. So there's new detectives, fresh eyes, re-looking at evidence, technology changes, all that type stuff. What would end up happening is DNA from a bite mark on Sherry's arm that the perpetrator had left would match DNA belonging to Stephanie, who was an LAPD officer. So you can only imagine how this was going over. Now, when the crime popped off, people had mentioned Stephanie's name, but again, other things were happening, other cases popped up, this type thing, and it went cold. Now, Stephanie was arrested in 2009, and she was convicted in 2012. She was sentenced to 27 years to life. Okay, so now, where we're at today. She recently went up for parole, and well, they've apparently favored her. Now, of course, this is all very tentative. It has to go before the state's board of parole hearings, and that can take like up to 120 days. Now, also Governor Newsom, he could allow the decision to stand, he could reverse the parole grant, ask for full parole board, whatever. There's a lot of things that he could do to step in there. Now, John Rutan, as well as Sherry's siblings, attended the hearing, and to quote one of them, they said something to the effect of like, look, she was out for 23 years while our loved one lost her life and we were rebuilding our lives. Like, are you even serious here? So I can only imagine their frustration, right? Because honestly, it seems like she just went in, right? We're talking about 2012. Even though I know that's a long time, but it's not a long time when somebody lost their life. And in the fashion that Sherry's life was lost. Stephanie was a very bitter, a very jealous, very angry woman. And unfortunately, Sherry took the brunt end of that. Now, in addition to that absolutely brutal nature of the crime, the fact that it was an LAPD officer, the fact that it went cold, and it was all that stuff that made this kind of explode, it also exploded for other reasons. And that was when this LAPD bunny boiler, Stephanie Lazarus, was interviewed and basically caught red-handed in this interview. It was an incredibly interesting interview and techniques that were used to lasso her in or catch her in her own lies, but you were also witnessing a person coming to this realization of, oh my gosh, my number's up, lying through her teeth, coming to that realization, completely nervous, realizing her life's over. Remember, it's 23 years. She's gone on and had a whole other life. She's moved on from this, right? But thank the Lord, victims are able to speak from the grave, and they can oftentimes have the final word. Now, what I want to do now is look at a few clips from Stephanie's interview so you can catch the vibe. I actually did a very long video on this case. I'll link it down below if you want to watch it, where I kind of break it down and go way deeper into the story of it. But let's just watch a few of those clips and talk about them.
Remember the first name?
Shelley, Sherry, I don't know.
Had you ever met his wife?
I may have.
Do you remember her name or anything, or? Or what she did for a living, or where she worked, or anything about her?
Well, I think I'm going to say that I think she was a nurse.
Y'all, drinketh from the cuppeth to that. I think she was a nurse. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough at that. She showed up to her job. Okay, I mean, the levels that this woman, Stephanie, went to over her anger towards Sherry was insane. Okay, showing up to their condo, doing this, doing that. So it was literally I shouldn't say it was no surprise, but this was headed in that direction. And at this time, John certainly didn't do anything to help the scenario. Okay. And I'm not trying to blame him and do all this kind of stuff, but again, it's one of those things where he wasn't helping the situation back then, right? And nobody seemed to really be taking this seriously, how off-kilter Stephanie was. And then she was also an officer, so things were overlooked. So that being said, do I think, well, let's put it this way, what do I think? First of all, shocked that they recommended her. Literally shocked. I'm like, y'all, she just went in a couple of days ago, okay? Like, that was just last week. Do I think she'll make it past the next level? I would like to say no, okay? However, in this day and age, nothing surprises me, right? Now, if you follow me, I'm not a professional. I don't have a degree in any of this stuff. So these are literally just Roscoe and I's sofa opinions, right? I am sure Stephanie behind bars has, checked all the checks, you know what I'm saying? She was a very competitive, very, boom, 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 let's be successful, let's do this type thing, let's rise through the ranks. So I have no doubt that behind bars, she's become, I'm going to do this and join this and do, be the perfect inmate and all this kind of things, right? Which probably helped. But the fact that the parole board would sit here and be like, yeah, we're going to recommend, I mean, seriously? I'm like, they must be, you must be able to do anything and just walk out of prison in California. You know what I'm saying? Shy of being one of those Manson girls, okay? Like, they kept them in there for a long time. But it just seems like, my gosh. Now, here's the thing. I have no doubt that people can change their lives and turn things around and whatnot. But I do agree with the family members where I feel like, I mean, come on. Like, really? This just took place, I feel like, and not the actual crime, but her getting called. Stephanie had a chance to completely turn her life around. Now, they might also be looking at it in this context of, this is the only time she offended. She never offended for those 23 years. She's been the perfect inmate. She's changed her life. Give her a second chance. Now, I'm not saying those are my personal thoughts, but I feel like that could be part of what they're looking at. Almost like this is a one-off thing that she's not going to ever do again. So, like, she's not a public, safety or whatever. But my next thing is like, well, what happens if she gets jealous again? Maybe this particular person just triggered that in her. I don't know. But I ache for Sherry's family and for her loved ones, because to be able to see the person who took her life and tormented her really and made her wedding and very short married life absolutely miserable, that obviously ended in her life leaving, but there was 3 people in that relationship, unfortunately. Sherry, Stephanie, and then John. And it wasn't fair to her, and she lost her life. So I don't think that she's going to make it. And again, who even knows what the governor would do if she gets actually through all the things up to the point where it's up to him. I would think he would say no, simply from the standpoint of, I mean, think about when, governors and people like this, like, grant somebody. You have to be in a very certain circumstance for a governor to be like, yeah, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like a very specific thing. At least I found, because it's all about, elections and stuff. Imagine if the governor didn't, what do you call it? Like, say the Manson girls, they, didn't change that. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, well, of course they got recommended for parole numerous times. It was so long. I can see where it's like, well, they haven't done anything in prison, the ones that were still living or whatever, or the one that they let out, like, right at the end of her life or whatever. And normally the governor, it's going to look bad for politics, basically, is what I'm getting at. So it'd be very interesting to see what this governor does. So we'll see. We'll just stand by and see. Again, I don't think she'll make it through all the things. And so there's that. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday after Thanksgiving, so if you do celebrate that, I hope it was wonderful. I hope you had lots of turkey or whatever you eat on that day to celebrate. If you don't, I hope you had an amazing Thursday. I hope you had fun shopping and bopping on Friday and whatnot, if that's what you did. Or if you just stayed at home with family and watched TV. Or if you were on the sofa with your little doggy or kitty cat, whichever one. And in fact, what was that? What? Huh? Roscoe says, drop some sofas, but throw some turkey leftovers on them too, because he like that turkey leftovers. Anyways, until Roscoe and I put the turkey down and manage our way to the sofa down in the comment sections to talk about Miss Stephanie and her bizarre facial reactions, we'll see y'all there.